going on, everybody? Unreal here once again, back at it with another creepypasta story for you guys here today. Today I'm going to be sharing a very creepy and very interesting story that I came across online today, and I hope you guys just sit back and enjoy, and I want you guys to put yourself in this person's shoes and imagine what it would be like for you to be in their situation. So without any further ado, let's begin. It was a very quiet night, and me and my brother were lingering around upstairs with nothing to do. I was browsing around on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, just chatting along with my friends. My brother was in the other room playing his PlayStation, so I didn't really pay any mind to him at all. It was a very boring night and our parents were out on vacation. It was just us two watching the entire house. I had nothing else to do, so I decided just to linger around Facebook for the rest of the night. My brother often played his PlayStation with his headphones on, so he couldn't really hear anything that's happening outside his room. He was really focused on his games. I wasn't really that much of a gamer though. I was more of a movie guy. You know, sitting back watching some action flicks, James Bond, Bourne Supremacy, stuff like that. Caught my interest. But on this particular night, I really wasn't feeling like watching any kind of movie. I was on Facebook and I overheard a couple of people talk about something called the deep web. I asked them what this was and they didn't really respond to me. So I decided to Google it and see what it was all about. After all, I had nothing else to do in my spare time. It was about to rain too, according to the forecast, so going out on this particular night was out of the question. I finally found out what this was. The deep web. It's a place where all of the information is being kept from the public. But wait, what information? If the internet's supposed to be a place where it harvests every single piece of info that you can possibly get your hands on, then what is this deep web? I decided to look more into it but couldn't find any more information. Then I decided to find out how exactly I can go and access this deep web. Just as I was doing so, my brother decided to walk inside the room with me. He told me that he had heard something around the house, but he couldn't really figure out what it was. He thinks there may have been a rat or some kind of possum that may have lingered inside the house somewhere just knocking stuff over. I told him not to worry, and mind you, my brother is younger than I am, but I can also tell that he was afraid. So I told him just to sit back in the room and let me go downstairs and figure it out. Just before I did so, I actually Googled deep web to see where I can access this so-called deep internet access. To my knowledge and surprise, you needed a very specific browser in order for you to download and access this deep web. I followed the instructions and downloaded the browser. I then quickly put on my slippers, grabbed my flashlight, and headed back downstairs. I told my brother if anything had downloaded on the computer to let me know so I can come up and finish the process. He told me okay, he's just gonna sit back and pop a movie in while I was downstairs trying to figure out what was going on. I turned off my webcam, muted my speakers, made sure all the tabs were X'd out, and went downstairs. As I headed downstairs, I kind of felt a little uneasy. What is this deep web? Where is this place? What can you find on there that you can't really find on the internet? I didn't really know what to think. But then at the same time, I didn't know what to expect as I headed downstairs. Could there have been an animal that may have let loose in my house? Or is there an intruder somewhere, hiding, waiting? A murderer? Or a serial killer? Perhaps maybe just a burglar? I don't know. I went downstairs with caution, made sure I turned all the lights on just to be safe, but I also made sure that I was able to hear my brother just in case something or someone just so happens to get by me and go upstairs. I was looking around the house and I couldn't really see or find anything of disturbance. I noticed that our back door to our backyard was unlocked and the door was cracked open just a bit. Could somebody have gotten in? It was at that moment that I began to get really nervous. I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I'm only 19 years old. My brother's 12. If someone comes in the house and they wanted to rob us, they easily could. I'm not the biggest of people, neither is my brother. So if anybody wanted to come inside and pretty much do something to us, they could. I was really nervous, but I wanted answers. I looked around the house and I couldn't really find anything. Suddenly, I heard a noise. It was almost as if somebody or something ran. The worst part was, it came from behind me. I quickly turned around as I began to sweat and looked around, but I didn't really see anything. I was really beginning to get nervous right now. In the process of doing so, I had to sum up the courage to go find answers. Whether it's an animal or a person, I will get my answer. I was searching around and all of a sudden, I heard as if I heard hissing behind my couch. I was really nervous. This could have been anything. This could have been an animal or someone just waiting for me to poke my head out so he can go on ahead and get me. I summed up enough courage to go on ahead and check behind the couch, and to my shock, I found it. A giant mother raccoon, just sitting there, staring at me with its beady little eyes. I tried to shoo it away, but I didn't really want to get too close to it because I was scared that it might attack me. I kind of got nervous, so I threw my flashlight right at it. Upon doing so, the raccoon got really scared and decided to run off. Luckily, however, I had the door open, so the raccoon ran straight through the door. In the process of doing so, I thought to myself, wow, that was it. As scary as that was, all that thing needed to do was scratch me or bite me, and I could have gotten rabies. In the process of doing so, I decided to close the door, shut the windows, lock everything, and go back upstairs. I was really relieved. My brother was telling the truth, however, because he always tends to prank me about these kind of things. As I was going up the first flight of stairs, I can hear my brother talking, but I didn't really know who he was talking to. He can't be playing on his PlayStation because he was in my room, and he doesn't really have a cell phone, so who could he be talking to? As I walked inside the bedroom, I noticed that my laptop was open and my brother was talking right into the laptop. I asked my brother, "Who are you talking to?" He looked at me and said, "The man on the screen." I didn't really know what he was talking about, and I noticed that the browser was downloaded already, but something was weird about my computer. I went on ahead and shoved him over and checked real fast to see who he was talking to, but I couldn't really find anyone. I asked him again, "Who are you talking to?" He then went on ahead and looked at me and said, "The man with the mask, on the computer." "Man on the mask," I said. "What are you talking about?" I noticed that my browser was open, but I closed it before I went downstairs, along with all the tabs that I had open. I noticed that the engine browser that I wanted to download was also open as well. It couldn't have been my brother because I specifically locked my computer before I left. How did he unlock my computer, and how did he open up all my browsers? I then noticed at the very bottom, there was a chat box. I clicked on the chat box and it said, "I can hear you breathing, Michael." I began to sweat. I was really scared. At first I thought it was an automated chat box, so I decided to exit out. I then looked at my little brother and asked him if he had touched the computer. He said no. The only thing that happened while I was gone was everything just booted back up, the lock screen for the computer disappeared, and he told me that he saw the mouse move on its own. I get nervous really easily over the simplest things, and this really made me uneasy, so I decided to try to hard reset my computer by holding down the power button. Then, all of a sudden, the same chat box popped back up. And here I thought it's just another automatic message from a chat box, but then I saw something that will scar me for the rest of my life. The message in the box said, "So you're alone, I see. Well, this should be very interesting." I didn't know what to believe, and I looked at my brother and I asked him if he had touched anything on the computer. He told me he hasn't. I began to sweat, and I was trying to reset my computer, but it wasn't turning off. The message said, "I wonder how long you'll be able to scream before you pass out." It was at that very moment that I knew something was up. Me and my brother's life were in jeopardy. I told my brother to go in his room while I tried to reset the computer, but the computer was not turning off, so I decided to slam the laptop shut and just throw it on the side of the bed. I didn't really know what to believe, and I started to get really nervous. I quickly remembered that I had a baseball bat in my closet. I went on ahead to go grab it, and I noticed that it wasn't there. My mom must have moved it while she was cleaning. Then, all of a sudden, there was a knock on the door. A very loud thump, 3 thumps on the door downstairs. It sounded like somebody was banging on the door trying to come in. Boom, boom, boom. That's all I heard in the middle of the night. Mind you, it was close to 1 o'clock in the morning, and my parents weren't around. They were on vacation, gone for about a week. And I knew right off the bat that it wasn't my parents that were knocking. So then if it's not my parents at the front door, then who can it be? Story number 2. Last night I woke up to the sound of someone crying. It was an eerie sound and surprisingly loud as well. Although I wanted to check it out, I was a bit scared and too tired, so I ignored it and hid under my covers. Today at breakfast I told my roommate about it. "That was me," she replied. What a relief, I thought, and I asked her why she had been crying the entire night. She looked at me with a blank face, a blank stare. When I looked into her eyes, she looked awfully shaken, disturbed. I asked her again, "Why were you crying last night?" She hesitated at first, and then she started to cry. I asked her, "Why are you crying now?" She wiped her tears off, put her hand on my shoulder, and very faintly said, "I was crying last night because I saw something watching you while you were asleep." I couldn't believe what she just told me. "What do you mean?" I asked her. She began to shake and quiver as she began to give me answers as well. She told me that there was something by the edge of my bed just standing there, watching me sleep. She awoke to the sounds of growling, a noise unlike any other she has ever heard, as she turned to her side and looked in horror as she gazed upon this entity, this creature, a being, a shadow, some sort of unknown by the edge of your bed. I couldn't believe what she was telling me. I needed proof. What was it doing? She said, "It was just standing there, watching you sleep the entire night." I was terrified, so I began to cry. And as I began to cry, it slowly turned its head and looked at me. And just as it did, I saw its teeth. I saw its horrible, sadistic smile as it turned its head back towards you and gazed upon your body as you slept throughout the darkness.